Hi everyone, it's Luisa. I hope you're all fine. Welcome to Meet the Experts, the visual live where experts give you their advice to succeed your career path. Today I'm Mark, project manager at Shipeo, and he will tell us how to gain professional experience in a startup. Hi Mark,
Hello.
how are you?
Good. Good.
Good.
So,
You're
okay.
actually in remote because I can see that maybe you're in your apartment now.
No, this is our office.
Ah, okay, great.
Yeah.
So, Mark, you know that today you will answer to students' questions, but you will also give us your tips to know how to find a job in a startup, your advice to succeed at a job interview, and also which mindset is important to work in a startup. But first of all, at home, if you want to see more content, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us to our different Instagram accounts. For that, you just have to type job teaser underscore and add the initials of the country at the end. Mark, before talking about gaining experience in a startup, can you tell us more about your professional and university background?
Okay, sure. Yeah, it's a bit of a winding road. I'm originally from the Netherlands and currently working in Paris at Shipeo. And I started also studying in the Netherlands, doing a bachelor in economics there. So first few years quite normal. But then after finishing my bachelor, I took a sort of a 3-year gap between the studies, where I worked on several projects, each time 4 to 6 months roughly, and basically switched that off with traveling, and so spent half a year in Spain to learn Spanish. Spent some time traveling in Latin America, and then a while in Germany to learn German. And that's how I eventually also ended up doing a study in Germany and France, a double degree in management, and also in the end ended up in Paris, where part of the study was to do a 6-month internship, which I also did at my company. So that's how I first ended up there. And finally, although there was still a thesis in between and a break because at that point there wasn't a job immediately at the company, but I guess we will probably talk about that a bit later. Ended up back working there. So.
Well, thank you, Mark. But now we'll take the first student question, which is how to find a job in a startup and how to apply.
Okay. So I don't know that much about this because, in the end, I was quite lucky to find this one, and it was one of the first ones I came across. But in fact, I did start looking on Job Teaser. Mm-hmm. So I ended up applying for a company which was very much in the same area as my current company, but that never came through. But via Job Teaser, I ended up on Welcome to the Jungle. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I guess you know this website. It's the main go-to website for startups, especially in France. And they're in the same category, which I knew I was interested in because it's logistics, it's on the tech side. I found Shipeo and applied for it. Basically, got invited the same week and started 2 weeks later. So it was a really a good experience right after. So I know those websites are very good to begin with, especially for startups, as we said.
And according to you, what to consider when choosing between a startup and a corporation as a graduate?
Yeah, I only have a very limited experience in big corporation, but that was one of those 6-month projects that I did before. And one thing that was pretty clear was that it was quite rigid. Everyone is stuck in their routines. Of course, that depends very much on what kind of job you end up doing for a company. So So I knew mostly from that experience that I wanted to look for something smaller scale, and then you quite quickly end up with startups if you want to both have smaller scale and also sort of a dynamic team and interesting product. So that was one major consideration for me, that your job is quite dynamic and lots of things can change. So it's an important consideration.
Do you think that it depends of the mindsets of the graduates? Do we need to have a specific mindset when we work for a startup?
Well, you definitely need to have a flexible mindset, because just to give some examples, I've been here now for almost a year, and then before that with an internship, and processes change completely, even though it's mostly the same job. Your performance indicators will change. Your team is going to change. Really can change on a year-by-year basis. So you need to enjoy this to some extent and want to contribute to it. I think that's very important. Because if that's something that stresses you out, then probably won't work for very long. But there's also, in some sense, of course, there's less certainty there. After my internship, I still had to write my thesis, but when I was finished with the thesis, there was just like no work for that time. Like it can happen that if you hit a bit of a slump. These companies they hire a lot of people. Then you need to make the next step. So that was bad timing, and I took another break. In the end, it was not so bad. I spent some time living abroad again, but then towards the end of that period, basically got a call saying, "Hey, when can you start if you want?"
Yeah.
So then, coming right back, and was immediately dropped into 5 ongoing projects. So then things can change really quickly, is I think the main message.
Do you think that when we wonder what to choose between a startup and a big company, that we need to think about salary, missions, management, organization? Do you think this is really important to think about that?
I don't. I think it depends also what stage you're in. So even
For a graduate, for instance.
Yeah, not maybe not your own stage, but what stage the company is in. I mean, for example, when I joined the second time around, the company was really changing a bit more to a sort of classic corporate structure with your classic ladders and setting up this whole organization to be able to grow. So then maybe it's not so variable anymore. There's quite clear rules. But I imagine if you start at a real startup, which is just got off the ground, then you have a lot of these considerations and even more uncertainty. But yeah.
And what are the pros and cons when working in a startup?
So a definite pro for me is high level of autonomy.
All right.
Because everyone is quite busy with their own. I don't think you should be expecting to be managed a lot. You'll be expected to. The company has a certain goal, and you can work towards achieving that as best you see fit. Of course, there's going to be processes and structures and. So a high degree of autonomy. That's very nice. Also. I'm sure this depends on which kind of department you're in, but you can have very varying jobs. But yeah, in the end, you could have this too in a big company.
And the challenge is important, according to you?
No. I want to add one more pro, and then maybe or do you mean? Yeah, sure. You will get challenged, of course. You will have to make it work with everyone. So it's not going to be there regardless if you don't do anything or not, or at least that's not the mindset that you see. And you have what's also nice is quite a young and dynamic team often. Mm-hmm. Like I would guess that our average age is maybe around 32 or something along those lines. And there's I think at least the 20 languages spoken among the 80 or so people that work here now. So it's very, very cool international vibe. But yeah, on the other hand, in terms of cons or difficulties, you mentioned before, if you have a period where it's not going so well and you're maybe not the company not hitting its targets for the next funding, you have much less certainty about you for your long-term job prospects, obviously.
That's why we're speaking about challenge, because you never know where the company is going to in terms of career path, evolution. So I think this is quite challenging to work for a startup, at least taking risk. According to you, what qualities do we develop while working in a startup? What kind of qualities?
So I would say that sense of autonomy and maybe some yeah, exactly. This, I think in general this is good for people. If you're trusted to do the work as you see fit, you will still have some support, obviously, but it's nice. One nice thing I think also is that at least what we see here, you develop quite a broad view of the business. Mm-hmm. Because on the onboarding, there's a very large emphasis being placed on getting to know what other teams are doing. So because teams are constantly changing, so you kind of need to. And also during just in regular operations or regular day-to-day, there's large emphasis on sharing what everyone's doing with the other teams and sharing what you're working on, what the achievements are, and maybe the difficulties are. So also, I think I'm getting a fairly broad view of our niche in the industry. Sure, it's it's not a very large or expanded industry that we're in, but still, in terms of how a company runs, you get a pretty good broad view. So.
And regarding your own professional experience, what kind of qualities did you develop?
So for me, but I think I don't think this would be very much different from working in a big company, maybe. But yeah, I've learned to be a lot more confident with what I'm doing and with presenting things in certain ways and workshops, discussions. But that's mostly because of the kind of job, I guess, that I'm doing. And it's also been a really good opportunity to, because I have clients in Belgium, Netherlands, Germany, so I get to speak many languages, which is something I enjoy a lot. And
to adapt to different kind of cultures, maybe.
For sure, yes. Right now, working with a French company or a Belgian company versus a Norwegian company, there's a gigantic, and then German companies again. So there's huge differences, and it's very interesting. And it's actually very good that I also do have colleagues from those respective countries to guide me along a little bit in that sense, because I might speak the language, but I'm not from there necessarily.
Kind of well, you need to be agile. And we have another question for our students. He or she wants to know, what advice do you have for the interview process to increase the chances?
Okay. So I can't say I've done a lot of these interviews, and the interview I did for the position here was very different from applying for a real position in terms of being an internship position. But I know that our interviews look quite like those of big companies that would normally hire people from engineering background or from a business background. in the sense that, yeah, at least I know that in tech, we will have the same type of interviews where they test your skills, see your motivation. For us, it's case studies. So it's really, I would say, more or less the same as any other serious company that you're applying for.
And how do you prepare your interview? Do you have a routine or something like that?
No, not really anything I can. No, I was going to add that you could definitely emphasize that you, or make sure that you realize what the dynamic nature of working at a company like that, and the fact that there will be a lot of change, and that's also something that's exciting for you. But yeah, I think many people looking at startup jobs will know this.
Another question, what are the key components to succeed in a startup as a student or a recent graduate?
Okay, yeah. You need to have a little bit of a can-do attitude. So if someone asks you something that you've never done before, of course you're not immediately expected to know everything about it, but at least to not hide behind your regular job description too much, and just see what you can do. So that's definitely important for success. I know that what we do, it's also a very celebratory culture. So everyone needs to share their successes. I mean, you can like this or less so, but I think it's important there's a certain reinforcement of a positive vibes, which I think is straight from the startup playbook. And it can also be a lot of fun, like sharing that with each other.
And at what point, according to you, it's important to work as a team, to have a team spirit?
Always. Yeah. No, it's yeah.
It's the guarantee to a great work and maybe to have a great career path in a startup.
I that's maybe also again my position a little bit, but I think it goes for almost all the jobs here. You cannot do them on an island. Like there's virtually no jobs that where you sort of have your own.
Yeah.
So you're always involving other people in your strategical thinking, and in anything that's sent out to. Usually there are several contacts there. So I couldn't think of any place in our company where you really have sort of your island or your approach. So it's very, very important.
According to you, how to get a foot in a startup when you only have work experience in a big company? Do you think that they really need to switch completely their mindset?
No, I don't think so. I know we hire a lot of people from big companies. Like it depends a bit on which phase you're in, maybe, but you always need talent from different. I know, for example, in sales and marketing, industry knowledge is extremely important, and of course you can learn it but it's super valuable to the team here if you bring that with you, and if the people you're going to speak to, if you speak their language, like that's a sort of a value that's added to the team that you cannot easily get from people who were just in startups, maybe. So it's definitely, I don't think it's a problem if you just have like any relevant industry experience can be translated. But maybe in other teams it's less important. In a tech team, I don't think it's in R&D, data science. I don't think it's that important that you.
And the last question, Mark, is having cross-domain expertise necessary to succeed in a startup environment, or do they need to be experts? What do you think about that?
I think it's a bit related to the last question, in the sense that there are some company or some jobs titles where customer success, sales and marketing, where it's very important to speak the language of the people you're interacting with. But it's maybe less so in other like in some of our operational and R&D departments. It's not that important. Like I had some experience in logistics already, but I don't necessarily feel like it would have hurt me if I had less of that and more general experience. No, and I know our team comes from quite diverse backgrounds, although it's usually mostly sort of consulting backgrounds. So,
yeah. And I will just ask you the last question. What can you say? What do you want to say to students and young graduates who actually struggle to find a job in that moment of in that crisis moment?
yeah, it's. I guess the whole number went down quite a lot, but it's good to remember that there are still companies that are continuing to grow. I know we had the fortunate possibility to continue hiring during the crisis, and now have like 30 open positions or something. So yeah, just keep looking. It's with if you want to apply for a startup, it's also all about timing. So try to look for the ones that are just in an upswing, I guess, and target those.
Well, thank you very much, Mark, for sharing your positive vibes and your advice and tips. Well, good luck for the rest. See you soon. And at home, once again, if you want to follow us, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us on our different Instagram account. For that, you just have to type jobteaser_ and add the initials of the country. See you very soon for a new live. And thanks again, Mark.
All right. You're very welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.